First, I want to graduate you a lot with the winning of the second prize for the award.
Yes, it was a great surprise. It was a great surprise.
Yeah, was it?
Well, in reality, it was a surprise because we were really worried, you know, mainly because in biennales, I guess, or you know, I began to realize that architecture is so much about process and really to tell the story about a project, and so there is all this amazing complexity built within, you know, in the story, that how to express it, how to really graphically put it together. So it's less about the object, and you know, and in a way, biennales are oriented to exalt the qualities of the end product in a way. But for us, it was more important to really understand
the
whole.
What they say, no?
Yeah.
And it's more about the research than the experience.
Yeah. So
still, it needs to be shown.
So and then knowing that was a challenge, we began to compose these boards to insert into the graphic narrative all these characters and the people that we've been negotiating with and constructing this process, right? Because it's very much about designing a kind of political and economic process with this non-profit in this neighborhood. So anyway, so it's filled with different characters and nuance, and so basically we put together this presentation, and in the end I thought, when I saw it on the wall finally, because that was another thing, we were requested to just give images that would be put on the wall, right? So when I saw it, I said, oh my God, it's too complex. I wanted to get away from this idea of graphics in architecture, that diagram, the kind of complexity of the city, and in so doing they tend to hide the issues because they become so complex that they're almost impenetrable, right? So we wanted to create something a lot more naive and more simple about telling the story.
Yeah.
But when I saw it on the wall, I said, oh shit, you know, it's like this is too complex. So it was good. If anything, what I feel good about getting the second prize is that the jury was able to enter the ideas and the process and to really get a sense of what we were trying to do. So that was great. It's about communication ultimately, right? And
yeah, I think that the jury really picked out very well the projects that are going deeper than this kind of iconic images.
That's true. That's true. That's exactly it. Yeah.
And
so for me it was not an issue of presenting a building, even though we are interested in that and there is a project. But really the research, the process, from which we kind of presented an alternative way of developing housing in San Diego, which is really about empowering a neighborhood to become developer of this project and to change policy, to change zoning for this neighborhood that has prevented density and mixed use. So it's been 6 years of working with this. And of course, that process of challenging the powers of, again, the institution of land use and of privatization is the essence of the project, but the project also culminates in an actual formal infrastructure that is very small, but ultimately, hopefully, persuasive enough to create this mixture of program and ultimately allowing the non-profit organization that manages the project to inject into housing its own social programming. So it was very complex, but it culminates in a project. But again, the idea was to tell the story of the process. And anyway, again, I'm glad that the jury got it. Got it. So that's good.
So it's been a 6-year project instead of like half a year that you get from the Biennale.
Oh yeah, no, it's
how did the Biennale really help you?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think the Biennale, I mean, we've been really busy engaging the process. I mean, it's been a very difficult process. I mean, I'm talking about a very poor community, a disenfranchised neighborhood, a neighborhood at the border, which is the busiest, most trafficked border in the world, in the midst of the politics of surveillance and anti-immigration in this moment. So this whole thing is just really it's a site of conflict, right? And so it's been really dealing with things on the ground, dealing with politicians, dealing with. So we haven't had a chance to retroactively look at the story, and so the Biennale, if anything, allowed us to refine a little more the story, right? And to really retroactively put the pieces together. So that was a good thing.
It's good to make maybe the final intermediate stage at least.
Yes.
That is set by this Biennale.
Yes.
And
So I think that
you
this,
go on with it.
as soon as we get back, my team and myself, we're going to begin putting together a book to flush out the ideas with more specificity and to really tell the story in a way that, again, it can produce a methodology or a kind of process that could empower other communities, other neighborhoods in the United States and hopefully internationally to develop these alternative economic and political processes or tactics. So it's important. This is what the Biennale, at least this one, which really focused on case studies, right? I think it could do more, I think, out of this exhibition, that it could extract from the projects the particular tactics of engagement, translate them into a process that can later be transported or transcoded to other environments, So that's exactly it. The Biennales have been focusing so much on the product and on the kind of aesthetic dimension of architecture. But in reality, what these Biennales should produce is knowledge. It's really the production of process that can then be deployed in other environments, right? So,
exactly. So
this
that
exchange.
It's not only research, it's really getting to a product.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it, because I feel that because I teach at a university where research is primary, but I feel that we continue to do research for other researchers, not to empower community activists.
Exactly.
So there needs to be a translation. If I was to show half of the drawings that the Verlaje Institute produces in terms of this analysis to cities, which is essential, don't take me wrong, but they would say, what the hell is this, There needs to be a kind of translation of these sort of process or tactics or strategies so that it empowers the people who are really provoking the change on the ground.
Exactly.
And I think that relationship of institutions of knowledge and the community activism that is really transforming the very top-down recipes of development is what is needed. Is this relationship, So whatever we produce, and I'm not talking about dumbing down or making the information naive. In fact, that's what my intention was actually to produce a more naive document. But I think that what we need is to translate the complexity of these forces into a more, it's a sort of digestible, kind of more empowering tool.
Yeah.